Jon Medved, thank you very much for talking to us. Can I start by asking about the impact the war's having on Israel's economy? Because at the last count, 360,000 reservists have been called up to the army, and that's 10% or around 10% of the workforce.
It's having a significant impact, but not in the way that you would probably anticipate. Many of our people are called up, and in the tech community, it's even a higher percentage generally because reservists are people in the age between 20 and 35, and that's sort of prime territory for the tech work staff. However, it turns out that we're pretty resilient, and this is not our first crisis. Israel has managed its way through not only previous wars, but things like the pandemic in rather good fashion. And what happens is that when people are out serving the country in the reserves, we have experience with that every year, right? Every reservist goes for a month or two anyway, and we know how to cover for them. In particular, the tech community is providing leadership. Also, to use this technology for the various special forces units and other units in the army.
Jon, you mentioned new tools that the Israeli tech sector has been able to put into the hands of the military at short notice. Can you offer any insight as to what they are?
Preferably not too much detail, but I'll give you the broad sectors, which are pretty obvious. We're very good at cybersecurity, and that's both offensive and defensive. In order to eliminate the Hamas leadership, we need to find them and track them down. We have a company called Cyabra who's really leading in terms of the fighting the fake news. They've discovered over 100,000 Iranian bots that have been created to spread this disinformation. There's also, call it robotics and teleoperated vehicles. I won't go into too much detail there, but you can imagine how important these are in terms of saving our soldiers' lives and bringing the war to the enemy in the most effective manner. And then perhaps the one we're most proud of here is our portfolio company called Emprest, which happens to be the provider of all the software that runs the Iron Dome anti-missile system, which is really one of the wonders of the technology world. The fact that we're able to protect so many people from this horrible, evil, sort of indiscriminate, targeted missiles against civilians.
I want to ask you, Jon, now about the Abraham Accords, signed just 3 years ago, normalising relations with UAE, Bahrain and others, also starting new trade relationships, important for your industry, obviously, the tech industry. It benefited in particular. What have they meant for you and for Israeli business in general?
They have been a complete and total game changer. The Abraham Accords brought down what I call the sand curtain, which is equivalent really to the Iron Curtain, and the same kind of important sort of foundational moment that occurred when East and Western Europe came together is happening now in the Middle East. And while there may or may not be momentary setbacks and ups and downs in this process, there's no stopping the process. And we've been very active at OurCrowd in terms of working with the Emiratis, the Moroccans, the Bahrainis, and we're very hopeful that this circle will soon expand to include Saudi Arabia. I've visited there several times, and I have an enormous interest and appreciation for what they're doing in the technology area, and there's going to be tremendous ability to cooperate with them. I just think this is a great thing for humanity, for the world.
And one thing the Accords did, of course, was, as you say, strengthen relations through trade. But some of those partners have been somewhat quiet about this latest Israel-Hamas conflict. I wonder, from the business leaders that you speak to across the region, what's your sense of how they've changed the dynamic?
There's a difference between what you say in public and what you say in private, for sure. But even the public statements have actually been much better than in the past and have been heartening. And these kinds of processes where you're bringing people together to friendship and to cooperation and to prosperity after decades of hostility or animosity, they don't happen overnight. You can't just snap your finger and say, okay, let's sing Kumbaya and be buddies. It's about building relationships. It's about finding commonality and common ground.
But are you concerned that the business links that have been forged could be unraveled because of the turmoil that we're seeing?
Let's just say that I'm conscious that that's, you know, always a possibility, but I don't see it happening. And in fact, I'm very, very proud of our partnerships. I mean, we've got a subsidiary working in Abu Dhabi with dozens of people. We're continuing to hire more people there.
It doesn't look like this war is going to end quickly. And I wonder if you're concerned that if it drags on, then could investment into Israel and the region suffer?
If it goes on for 6 months or more, then that's a problem. But I think that we'll resolve this in a reasonable time frame. And look, any war is not reasonable, right? In other words, we would love a situation where we didn't have to fight a war. I think that what we've seen every time we've gone to war is that the Israeli economy has further grown after the war was resolved. Stock market goes up, investment goes up, money will pour in. And I'm sure that's going to happen this time.
Prior to the recent attacks, there had been growing speculation that Saudi Arabia and Israel could sign some kind of peace deal, which would, of course, be a massive economic boost to the region. So far, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been trying to calm the conflict. He's also emphasised the kingdom's support for what he described as a just peace that ensured the rights of Palestinians. Is there a point whereby if Israel inflicts too much damage in trying to eliminate Hamas, that it could jeopardize a deal like that?
Look, I think that, again, Israel is being careful and is going to be increasingly careful to make sure that the Palestinians are as unaffected as possible in this, and that we literally just deal with the Hamas, evil that has beflicted us. And on the other hand, there's no guarantee that can happen. It's not impossible that there will be mistakes made or people, too many civilians hurt, and so therefore there will be a correlation between how that plays out and how quickly we can recover and get back on the process of building these ties. I am very optimistic that we will resume, if not already going on at the moment, discussions with the Saudis.
Jon Medved, thank you very much.